It had to happen at one point in time. We had to dive in to the world of ska, a genre that I didn't realize was as polarizing as it seems to be in the world of punk rock. But I think ska and punk kind of go hand in hand together. So you can't have episodes like these. You can't break down albums without looking at some of these important ska moments. And it's still riding high. Plenty of great ska bands out there in the world, but we're going all the way back to the 1900s, 1996, covering a band that's still running today and still doing a lot of great things in the world of music. Of course, I'm talking about Less Than Jake. You're listening to P is for Punk, and today, L is for Losing Streak. Released January 1st, 1996, and entering a new year, and you're getting a first little dose of some ska excellence. Could you imagine? 1996, January 1st, I was 5 years old, five and a half. So I came across this album much later in life than in 1996. Unfortunately, I wish I had someone in my life that was listening to Less Than Jake. 16 songs, 35 minutes. Good stuff. Good stuff nonetheless. Now, I'm getting some conflicting information because on one thing, it's saying January 1st, 1996. Other ones, it's saying November 12th, 1996. It was in 1996, all right? Released on Capitol Records. Michael Rosen was the producer, and this is Less Than Jake's second full-length album and their major label debut. Following the independent debut, Pezcore had the early 90s, late 90s, third wave kind of ska love that you must at least explore a little bit when you're going through the world of music, especially in the world of punk. So formed in 1992, Gainesville, Florida. A lot of good bands coming out of Gainesville, Florida. Against All Authority, Against Me, Against All, I said Against All Authority already. Hot Water Music and the Toasters are all kind of in that Florida punk scene a little bit. So they're in good company. I think this album had Krista Makes, Roger Lima, Vinny, Buddy Schaub on the trombone, and Jessica Mills and Darren Neufer on saxophone. They've had a little bit of some member changes here and there. I think their current lineup that they have now has been pretty solid outside of Vinny leaving the band as a drummer. He left a while ago, though. It's been a handful of years, and Less Than Jake's touring manager, I believe, and like kind of like merch guy, got behind the kit now and is a part of the band. So that's good too. They're still going strong. They're still playing these great music, this great songs, the great music that they have. They're fast, they're melodic. They have the upbeat ska rhythms, the upstrokes. They got some songs that are pretty funny. They got a little pop sensibilities. They got reggae sensibilities. They kind of got it all. So before Losing Streak, they had a couple of 7-inch singles, kind of do it yourself type releases. Making Fun of Things You Don't Understand was on an early comp they were a part of. And then their first full length in 1995, Pezcore, kind of built a cult following in the world of the underground and the ska scene. So then they hopped onto Capitol and they released Losing Streak, which is definitely one of the band's most famous records out there. I was fortunate enough to see Less Than Jake play Losing Streak in its entirety. I want to say in 2010 at Riot Fest. This was when Riot Fest was still at the Congress Theater in Chicago, Illinois. It was awesome. I got to meet the band. I got to get a signed, like, cool photo from them that was drawn. It was pretty sweet. And it was fun. And Less Than Jake is actually the only band I've seen two of their albums played in its entirety at a show. So I got to see them play Losing Streak, and then I got to see them play Hello Rockview as well, which is awesome. They have a lot of longevity and they have a lot of great songs and great moments, especially across this album. It starts with the opening track, Automatic. It is a fast, punchy opener. It's got the little radio man doing a little intro, which I think is pretty sweet. You know, being in the world of radio, I always like those little shout outs. It's like, oh, you're listening to Less Than Jake. And then cue the music, cue the good times. It's kind of got your, I guess you could say, standard Less Than Jake kind of formula. Maybe it's a little bit of a ska formula. They got dual vocals. They got the horns going on. It's kind of great. Roger and Chris do really well complementing each other in their voices. Roger's more higher in the singing range, but he can get gritty. He can do like the screamy vocals. Krista Makes has your mid-range, kind of lower, also a little more raspier. They do a really good job of balancing those responsibilities when it comes to singing, which I really enjoy. And Automatic, it's kind of about feeling stuck in a routine, which I think we all can relate to. We all understand how that works. And it's just like a great kind of way to kick off the album. This is what you get in ska, baby. You're getting the funness of punk, and we're throwing a little reggae sensibility in there with the horns, the trumpets, trombone. I don't think they had a trumpet actually on this. It's trombone and saxophones. So look at that. A great way to kick it off. That's for sure. Happy Man coming in at number 2. Kind of a short and sarcastic kind of type of song. And you get that a lot in definitely in like 90s ska. I think that changed a little bit over time, a little bit. You know, when you think of like new wave ska, there's something like the RX Bandits, very different vibe, but ska always has that kind of, I don't want to say gimmicky, but like kind of like some gags in there, if you will. There's always a lot of funny songs, but there's always serious songs too, and songs that are meaningful. You got to have fun songs with a fun genre like this. So you got to be able to laugh a little bit and be a little sarcastic and be a little punchy. Like this song, Happy Man, about fake positivity out there, the social pressure to kind of be happy. This is kind of a more punky song, I guess you could say, with like the ska sarcasticness, if you will. I mean, when you think of like Real Big Fish, who was like pretty big at this time as well, they have a lot of songs like this too that are jokey, but also like punchy in the world of punk sounding and doing all that kind of stuff. It's okay to not be the happy man. It's okay to, address the pressures that you feel throughout life that you get from people who are always trying to make you feel one way or another in the world of happiness. Track number 3 is definitely a fan favorite from when I've seen Less Than Jake live. I've seen them a handful of times in Milwaukee. I've seen them in Chicago. I think I've probably have seen them about 4 or 5 times. And when they play Ninth at Pine, people get really excited about it. This is a good song for you to kind of be introduced to it. It's very, I think they're talking a lot about Gainesville in this song. It's a specific reference. Growing up in suburbia and, just kind of like the small town interactions that you have with people. I think most people can relate to this as well. More people than not are from small towns, and you kind of know what that's like. If you're in a really small town, like where I live, I don't even live in where I work. I live in a smaller town, and that place is just all like, it's just so like clicky. And it's so like, if you are standing out from the crowd a little bit, You're standing out from the crowd, but it's I think Ninth and Pine is a little bit about that. It's it's relatable. The small town kind of like ugh. And then even like thinking about like when should I stay here? Should I leave? What should I do? Um, when it all came down on a Saturday night, should I choose a side at Ninth and Pine? Can we say we're civilized? Watch a kid go at Ninth and Pine. I think that's a good way of describing a lot of people's existence growing up and kind of seeing how things all went down in that regard. It's interesting the impact that your community can have on you like that. But people do love it. People love this song. It's good. It's got the good horns to it, and you can just vibe with it. Do a little skanking, a little dancing. If I've skanked plenty of times. That's the ska dancing. For those of you that don't know, you got to skank. It's a certain thing that you do, and I bet you if you're an outsider looking in, it looks pretty bizarre, but it's a lot of fun, especially when you're doing it with a bunch of people and having a good time. Sugar in the in your gas tank. Number 4, a more melodic track to the album, talking about maybe getting a little revenge on somebody. Maybe somebody broke your hearts. Maybe somebody made you feel bad, and they're looking to get back at you. A thing I like about this, and I like about a lot of music in general, is you can have such bitter lyrics. You could even have sad, depressing lyrics. But if you put it to some upbeat music and music that sounds fun, and it's just like people don't like necessarily, it's not making them feel sad or not making them feel kind of like depressed or anything, but it's talking about some stuff that we all deal with that we don't like to deal with it. But yeah, I do like this one. It's got a catchy chorus. It's got the everything you need. Relationship sabotage. Sugar in your gas tank. I don't recommend doing that. A good line from this one. Frustration, hell. Who needs it? Who needs it anyway? If I had it in me to stop my random thoughts and my dumb dreams, I could deal with this nonstop spinning world. Beautiful. Relatable. Good stuff. That's sugar in your gas tank. This next one, number 5, is called, I think it's called Shindo. Shindo? Here's your fast melodic punk with it. I think, a lot of previous punk bands definitely influenced Less Than Jake. I know they're big Descendants fans. I know they're big Screech and Weasel fans. So a lot of that influence is there, kind of that 80s, late 80s, mid 80s type of punk rock. So you do get that quite a bit with Less Than Jake. And then you throw the horns in it, which is pretty cool. So this one, number 5, Shindo, is very fast. It's melodic, talking about anxiety, a little social awkwardness out there. It's opening up with Chris singing, something's out there and it takes me away from a world too small to stay. Again, this is all kind of a similar theme about small towns, small world, like fitting in. Do you fit in? How do you go about doing that? Are you confident in yourself? Is there self-doubt? So it's like kind of, repeating the motif a little bit of Losing Streak. And, we have an album called Losing Streak. What do you think the songs are going to be about? It's fast, it's good. And I like the melodicness of it as well. Like I said, they really complement each other's voices super well. And yeah, something's out there from a world too small to stay. So I think about that stuff all the time. I think about leaving where I'm at, trying something new, and yet here I am continuing to do the same old song and dance. And it's not so bad. I'm not like complaining or anything like that, but yeah, you kind of you think about it a little bit sometimes. Number six, 107, a shirt. Oh my God, a super kind of short burst in a song. This is it's 2 minutes long, a 2 minute song, a 1-2 punch, and it's talking, about a little bit of a frustration, maybe a lack of direction. We all have that in our adolescence too. I think not all, but a lot of us do. I know at a point in time I had some lack of direction and like not really sure how to do things, how to navigate certain situations in my head, but and in my life. And you're thinking about the future and kind of wondering where it's going. Again, it's got like this is like the people's music here, talking about real issues, but it sounds cool. It sounds good. Standout line. I'm happier when things are falling apart, but you'll never know just by looking at me, strung out on the future, burnt out on the past. Amen, brother. I think we all know that one. Moves in to definitely the biggest song I think Less Than Jake has ever put out. Ultimately, the fan favorite. People go wild, people go crazy. This is where you get your upbeat strokes. You get some horns, you get a lot of stuff. Johnny Quest thinks we're sellouts. Their biggest song out there. They were accused of selling out. Somebody wrote on a desk somewhere that Less Than Jake is sellouts. And I think they signed it Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest was a cartoon character from back in the day. I think like it was on Cartoon Network originally. Maybe it was on something else. But that's really how it went. And then it caused Chris DeMakes to write this song and kind of wonder like, hey, why does he think we're sellouts? And he kind of like goes through the reasons of like why they aren't sellouts, because they print their shirts still. They do their own merch. They're doing all this kind of stuff, but it's so fun. It's talking a little bit about like that punk scene politics from back in the day. I think it's gone away a little bit, this mentality of, oh, you're not punk when you sign to a major label. You're not punk if you're selling out big theaters and arenas. You got to be on the streets. You got to be doing small hole in the wall venues and all this kind of stuff, scraping by. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that was like a thing back in the day, and even into like the early and later like 2000s, that still was a thing. You would hear bands signing on to a major label and people would be like, are you kidding me? Oh, I thought you were punk. I thought you were this. Like, oh, you're gonna be a capitalist now. Yeah, dude. If you want music from these people, they got to make money. You Otherwise they're not gonna do it. That's my opinion on it. But this was kind of an early take on it. And he's kind of listing it. Is it that we're not punk enough? Or maybe you think ska just sucks, but Johnny Quest thinks we're sellouts. And they're definitely not. I wouldn't call Less Than Jake sellouts by any means whatsoever. They've been doing this for a long time. At the time, they were still a young band trying to, navigate this life of being a traveling musician in a genre that was like kind of just taking off and like was gaining some momentum and popularity. But this is a fun song, and with Chris on the lyrics, Chris on the songs, and or singing it, I should say. And it's good. It's fun. They'll play this at every show. Absolutely. Even when I saw them play Hello Rockview in its entirety, their encore set, of course, included Johnny Quest thinks we're sellouts. I think if you go to a show and you don't hear that song live, something bad is going to happen. Perhaps something's going wrong. You should call 911. Another one that a lot of people do enjoy afterwards is number 8, Crazy Glue. Crazy spelled with a K. Whoa, that is crazy. Um, think talking about how you can be stuck in life again. It's got this motif, this recurring theme of being stuck where you are, being stuck on looking into the future, all that kind of stuff, wanting to break out a little bit. Um, and you just can't get it get it done with, get it out there. And tradition seems to stick just like crazy glue. And tradition is an interesting thing to think about in a lot of regards. You have traditions in there's the world, there's traditions in your community, there's traditions in your family. Traditions can be great, but traditions can also be like holding you back, stopping you from doing good things that you want to do, or something that you maybe want to try a little bit. Or maybe it's like you have to put on a facade for certain traditions. And uh they do kind of stick like crazy glue sometimes, and sometimes they define you a little bit. So yeah, crazy glue, you're stuck. You need to figure out how to break that mold a little bit, and figure it out, and find what's there within you. There's a lot of pressures keeping you where you're at. Sometimes you never leave a place because I've always been here. And in a sense, that's like a tradition too. And you just got to figure that out. Number 9 is the track Never Going Back to New Jersey. Another fan favorite. I think like majority of this album is a fan favorite, for crying out loud. It's definitely one of their most popular albums. So everything's going to be a fan favorite. Talking about escaping those hometown problems. Again, you should be surprised by this. This is what this album is about. It's talking about New Jersey a little bit. Touring. I've never been from to New Jersey. But this one's about never going back to New Jersey. Yeah, I have that feeling with Wisconsin. I think like I love Wisconsin a lot. Wisconsin has a lot of great things to offer, but it's also not it's not the whole world. There's other places I would like to explore. I would like to go to maybe a bigger city at times, and I would like to go to a different state altogether and kind of experience that a little bit. And I know a lot of people that have left Wisconsin and are never looking back. They love Wisconsin. This is where they grew up. They have no like, they don't say like Wisconsin's a horrible state or anything, but they're not looking back because they left and they found something good out there. They found something maybe even a little bit better. And there's times where like you think like, hey, I'm never going to go. I'm never going to leave there. And then you do. And hey, look at that. It was not, I don't know if this is necessarily that, but I think a lot of times when you leave your hometown abruptly, it's because you got some problems going on, or just some things you maybe don't want to face anymore. You don't want to deal with, and you're moving on. And then you're not looking back to where you came from. So it's looking back at your old life. You're not looking back at that. You're moving on both mentally and maybe physically, locationally. It's a good one. Never going back to New Jersey. I think New Jersey gets a lot of heat in the world, especially from New Yorkers. It seems like a swell place. I don't know though. I've never been there. Number 10 is my personal favorite song on this album, How's My Driving, Doug Hastings. A very short song, less than a minute and a half, a minute and 23 seconds. And it's fun. It's kind of humorous a little bit. It opens up with the line, Friday night on Coke with a crowbar. And left at 2 in the back of Doug's car. And, talking about being messed up a little bit. And, it's kind of funny. It's got the classic, I think, Less Than Jake humor with it. It's got a good a good a good song title. And I like the chorus as well is awesome. Fuck Doug, I'm not going out like this. He said, "Man, I'm all I got and I won't be missed. And it makes no sense to me. It ain't the way that it's supposed to be." I think that's a little self-reflective in a way too, when you're just like, "Huh, what's going on?" Or you can feel a little bit down or have some stuff going on and be self-reflective in that moment. But this is a song that it's short. You get the chorus twice in a minute and a half, but it sometimes it leaves me wanting more. Like because it's so good and it's so fun, I'm like, I wish this was a little bit longer so I could just get a little more to it. There's a handful of songs that you experience in your life that it's like that, and it's like it's so good that it deserves to be longer. But maybe that's what makes it so good is that it's short, straight to the point, and packs the punch. That could be a good formula as well. Number 11, the song "Just Like Frank," a tribute to Frank Sinatra, perhaps having a little confidence in you, doing things your way. This is a pretty catchy song on the album, and it opens up with the dual kind of melodic voice force that is Roger and Chris together. They do a good job. I don't know a ton about Frank Sinatra. I know he wanted to be a part of it, New York, New York, but I know like he had the swag, he had a lot of personality to him, and he kind of did whatever the hell he wanted to do. So it's a good one. I will say, like, I'll be honest, I skipped this song. um after I hear "How's My Driving," Doug Hastings, and then this one, it it kicks off right with the lyrics, just like anyone. He's just like anyone or anybody. It's fine, it's good, but definitely it's not my favorite. A lot of people like it. I do skip it. I'll be honest with you. There's songs that I skip. I don't listen to the whole album like every single time I throw it on. Sometimes I'm like, all right, we're not going to listen to this one, and this is one of them. Not knocking it. It's just not my personal favorite. Number 12. Ask the Magic 8 Ball. Another example of kind of their satirical, lyrical style a little bit, and talking maybe a little bit about indecision. Can't make a choice. You got to figure, when you can't make a choice, um, you kind of go to like unusual platforms sometimes to kind of just figure it out. So I kind of like "Ask the Magic 8 Ball" as a title. I think like um these days you could say asking ChatGPT. But I don't think that would work as good as this one. But right away, it's just saying, what the fuck have I become? I've become the product of the sum, caught in the endless circle. I've become the stupidest man in the world. Little self-deprecating, a little letting chance dictate your life a little bit, not knowing what to do. It's satirical again in it, but I think that, within sarcasm there might be a little ounce of truth in there every once in a while. "Dope Man" is number 13. This is a song that was dubbed to be a little controversial back in the day. MTV reportedly refused to air the video due to the drug reference. Although the band says the song is against this, is criticizing drug culture. Rancid has a song called "Junkie Man." Tell me what your story is. So "Dope Man," and at the time, in this day and age, MTV was a force in the music industry. and they were how a lot of people were exposed. Back in the 90s, you had MTV to learn about bands, to learn about music. You didn't have Spotify. You didn't have all these other things. You had to either go to a show and see them as an opener. You had to get maybe a little bit of word of mouth. You had the radio, and then you also had shows like or stations like MTV that yeah, MTV gets a lot of heat back in the day or now even they don't even exist now, I don't think. And but still it was something to get on there. So to have MTV refuse to air that, if that news gets out, I think that draws more people in to wanting to listen to the song and seeing what it's about. But yeah, I would say the song definitely has an anti-drug kind of culture or criticizing it a little bit. So you gotta look at the lyrics, MTV. Jeez. Following Dope Man is the song Jen Doesn't Like Me Anymore. So this was originally on that debut album Pezcore. They re-recorded it for this album, talking about awkward relationships, heartbreak in a sense that's maybe it's funny, and it's it's fine. It's a good song. Um, I don't know. Again, this might be one that I skip a little bit, but it still fits the mold of what is Losing Streak. Rock and roll pizzeria. Oh my god, I can't speak. Rock and roll pizzeria coming in at number 15, the second to last song. A little bit of a goofy ska punk kind of track, talking about the city, probably Gainesville, because they're not far removed out of Gainesville, saying, man, it's really strange. The city never stays the same. And they're talking about like kind of like pizza shop hangouts a little bit. Um, it's yeah, it's good. I think it kind of fizzles out a little bit at the end of the album. That's my opinion, but I do love this album. Don't get me wrong by any means, but yeah, it happens. Last song on the track is Lockdown. Um, a more kind of serious closer. You're following this kind of funny pizza punk rock song. Again, fitting the isolation that you might have within some of your emotions, frustrations with life and where you're at. Ends on a little bit of a darker note than what it started at, which is good. It makes it interesting. And it does a good job closing it. Something's not right when the downstairs or when the downtown's all just blinking lights. Think about that a little bit. And that's Losing Streak, track by track. The artwork is pretty awesome. It's got this green lizard looking dude holding up a horseshoe that likely just hit his head because it's got like the cartoon little like whirlwinds above it with random thing. You got the dice, you got 4-leaf clover, 8-ball, ace of spades, and all that kind of stuff. It looks like it was a hand-drawn picture, a pretty iconic album cover out when looking at the longevity and looking at the discography of Less Than Jake. This was really an album that is third wave ska at its finest. Maybe one day we'll kind of break down the various waves of ska, but this is, right. They're running with bands like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, No Doubt, Goldfinger, Real Big Fish, and they're killing it. This was a pretty good time to be in ska. It's got the horns, you have your poppy hooks, kind of your hardcore punk elements to it too. It's really a blending of genres that I think is pretty great. And for a lot of people, a lot of fans like kind of discovered this through like Warped Tour. Less Than Jake was on Warped Tour numerous times out there. They were featured in skate videos. I want to say they're on one of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtracks. I could be wrong about that, but they're really part of this kind of gateway to what ska is. They were included in a lot of college radio back in the days, rightfully so. You got college kids, especially out in like California or Florida, where this is kind of a big movement. They're going to be playing this stuff, and they're probably buddies with the dudes in the band, so looking to get them some airtime. It's cool. I think I think this is a great way of being discovered as a band, going through these old school kind of ways, being featured on compilations, going on these tours, opening for awesome bands. They've toured with Blink 182, The Descendants, Guttermouth. They've done a lot of stuff. 2 years after Losing Streak was released in 1998, Hello Rockview is unleashed on the world. Another historic album with great artwork, and they kind of keep it going. They keep the trend moving forward. They've released a ton of different albums since then. Their last full length one was Silver Linings. They have the Uncharted EP, which was produced by Bill Stevenson in the Blasting Room. Of course, Bill Stevenson from the Descendants. Uncharted's got a lot of good songs too that I really enjoy. It's a good EP. They're still touring globally. They're still doing endless festivals. They're kind of like bringing back the ska-punk revival a little bit. I like that. They're reviving something that really has never gone away, but I think more people are kind of hopping back on the wave that is ska once again, which I'm pretty happy about. This is peak 1990s ska-punk. It's got the do-it-yourself spirit with the backing of a major label, which I think is important. I think you need to understand, like, major labels don't sign just anybody. It might seem like it because when you look at some of these bands and these, I get it, okay? Mainstream record labels put out a lot of junk, but they also like are doing it for money. They know it's what people are going to like. So at the time, I think this is okay. I think it's good to have this major label exposure because it introduced a lot of kids to ska. You got to look at it on the bright side, friends. If they didn't, quote unquote, sell out, who knows if we would ever even have any more Less Than Jake albums and have them still be touring today, which is cool. Krista Makes also has a podcast called Krista Makes a Podcast. It's really, really good. He brings in musicians, and they bring in one song that they wrote and they do a deep dive in it. Krista Makes did do a deep dive episode of Johnny Quest Thinks We're Sellouts, so you can go back into the catalog and listen to that. It's a great episode. They're awesome. They're creative dudes, and they're doing a lot of great things. Roger Lima has another band called Rehasher out there that's got some similarities with Less Than Jake. It's a punk band, no horns in it, pretty good as well. I mean, even after 30 years later, they still are absolutely amazing. They're doing great. They sound good live, and they still know how to put on a fun show. So if you have the opportunity to go see them, I would encourage you to go do just that. And when you get the chance, listen to Losing Streak. It's a great launching point into the world of Less Than Jake. So there you have it. Appreciate you hanging out. Make sure you are following me on all socials at P is for Punk on Instagram. That's kind of where I do most of the interactions and all that kind of stuff. I got a Facebook, but I really don't pay a lot of attention to it. There is some merch out there. You have to go to linktr.ee/dudes with brews, and you will find some P is for Punk merch. You can get stickers, hats, shorts, shirts. You can get a lot of stuff. Make sure you are tuning in to me as well. If you are in the Fox Valley area, the After School Special, my radio show, is on every day, Monday through Friday from 2 to 7 on 95.1 or 96.1 WTCX in Fond du Lac, Ripon, Waupun, and the Fox Valley in Wisconsin. That's it. Enjoy ska, dance a little, sing a little. We'll see you next week.